Next up on our 2022 positional review for the Minnesota Vikings, we jump in and look at the defensive interior along the defensive line. We'll get into that right after this. The interior defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings was a position that I just feel like we didn't see enough out of this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, before the season started, trading away Armon Watts,
Right.
bringing in Blacklock from Houston. I mean, obviously, Watts was kind of coming off a pretty solid season in 2021. We were hoping to see the growth, but instead, for contract reasons, decided to move on, bring in a cheaper option. I don't know. While there's some talent there, I just felt like we didn't see enough. I mean, obviously, from a pass rush perspective, we didn't see nearly enough from the inside. And for the bit that Tomlinson was out, like our run defense wasn't great either. So I don't know, man. I think, and I've said it since the season ended, that I think that's where we need to look in the offseason draft or free agency or whatever. Is we need to get a bully on the inside.
Yeah.
But obviously, we'll kind of get into some more of those thoughts as the video goes on here. But overall, it is a very meh season for them.
Yeah, I agree. Switching to the 3-4, I just felt like we never prepared ourselves on the defensive line. Like you said, we traded Armon Watts outside of Phillips and Tomlinson. It was like we just could never fit. What is it even called? Like it's defensive end. Like what do they call that third defensive?
The 5 tech or whatever.
The 5 tech or whatever. Like we never figured out that spot. That spot was probably like I still don't even know who started at the end of the season at this point in that spot because it was like such a rotational thing. So I think when we switched that 3-4, it kind of felt like we just didn't. Obviously, when we went and got Harrison Phillips, but still, just feels like we just didn't put enough for that area. Because I think obviously we have Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, 2 guys that still can get to the passer for sure. Even if like a guy like Danielle Hunter wasn't in his best, it wasn't 3-4 wasn't the best for him. But it was obvious that we just could not get to the quarterback from the guys in the trenches. And I think that was like one of the big reasons why we lacked in that area for pretty much this entire season, especially when Dalvin Tomlinson was out.
Right. And it
so
definitely,
you
definitely saw the effect on Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith as well.
Right.
How no teams were worried about pressure up the middle. So put all the eggs in the basket of stopping those two. And
yeah. So there's definitely something. There's something there we're missing, especially if we continue playing in the 3-4, which we don't know yet. Correct.
But I mean, I would assume at this point.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. But if we continue playing in the 3-4, I think it's probably pretty important to get some bully on that defensive line.
Yeah, I would say
so.
But anyway, let's
yeah.
We got some thoughts. We got some stats. Let's jump into those.
Yeah, before we do that, though, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sports podcast. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications for our videos. We give away Justin Jefferson rookie cards, other cards. I have all kinds of cards I'm going to throw up here, some autos and things like that. We do that on our live shows. The only way you'll probably know is if you're subscribed and hit that bell to get those notifications. So do that for us. Let's jump into this.
Cool. So starting off, Dalvin Tomlinson. Overall, pretty solid season from Dalvin. 37 tackles, 3 sacks. I believe a lot of those are early on in the season. 7 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, 77.1 PFF grade. Run defense, 63.8. Pass. Is that pass defense, I assume?
Oh, yeah, pass defense.
Pass rush or whatever. Pass rush. 79.1. Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing with Dalvin Tomlinson. Like, I thought he was much better at rushing the passer than we ever actually gave him credit for.
Right.
I mean, obviously the 7 quarterback hits from a nose tackle is pretty solid. You noticed when he wasn't in there and when he was from a run defense perspective. Because when he was out, our run defense was awful. And then he comes back and it wasn't great, but you noticed the difference when Dalvin Tomlinson was in there. And Dalvin Tomlinson now going into this offseason is going to be a free agent. He's one of the guys that I hope we can bring him back. I think he's a very solid piece along that defensive line. Again, mainly there for the run defense, but man, the guy can get after the quarterback. So
right.
I thought that was a really nice signing by the front office, and hopefully he sticks around. I don't know what kind of contract he's going to command, but I'd love to see him back.
Yeah, you could tell even compared to last season, he stepped it up in the pass rush. And I mean, at some point, like you said earlier in the season, that's where those 3 sacks might have came. I know right before his injury, which was like week 4 or 5 or something, he was actually our highest grade PFF player. When he came back, I mean, he was still pretty solid, but man, our whole defense was kind of struggling. Everybody kind of took a step back, especially from the defensive line and the O-line or the outside linebacker positions. Actually, I would say Daniil Hunter maybe stepped it up as he went around, but otherwise everyone else kind of went down. Anyways, but you can see like as we go through these slides, that 79.1 pass rush. That's what it was, pass rush. What did we say? Pass defense. Yeah, pass rush. That's what it would be. So 79.1 pass rush. You'll see as we go through this that the other players on the defensive line there did not look very good in that area. They seemed a little bit better in the run defense, even though we didn't see it a lot. It was kind of weird. We had games where runners like ran all over us, and then we had a lot of games where we played really good run defense, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, man, I mean, we just need a little bit more than just him, but I think he is important to this team, and he is a free agent that I think we should try to get back, especially there's not tons of talent at that position going into free agency. He's one of the top ones, actually. So
is he? I wouldn't surprise me.
Great for that one.
Yeah. Grading wise, I think I'd give him a B plus. I mean, the injuries kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I thought he had a very solid season, so I think a B plus would be fair for this one.
Yeah, I think I'd go with a B. I think I'll go with a B. Yeah, it wasn't anything too crazy, and I don't think it's just his fault. I think him being kind of I mean, you can argue Harrison Phillips had some solid games. Harrison Phillips wasn't anything too crazy. We'll go into him next, but I think that could have just hurt Dalvin Tomlinson, the lack of experience and talent on that defensive line. So it's hard for me to give him anything higher than a B, but I like B.
Yeah. Solid grade. Moving on, next is Harrison Phillips. Obviously brought him in from Buffalo. 17 games, 59 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 72.1 PFF grade overall, 73.6 against the run, and 59.9 against the pass. And that is one thing that about Harrison Phillips that you knew. Like, let's get the good stuff out of the way right away. Fantastic person on and off the field, good locker room guy, solid football player, really good against the run at like that 5-tech, tech interior spot. But obviously that is one thing that I've noticed with him all year long is 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, still solid.
Right.
But Dalvin Tomlinson had higher numbers than that in 4 or less games. So Dalvin Tomlinson, I think or Harrison Phillips, I think he is there for the run stopping. Like that's what you bring him in for.
Right.
Has the potential to get after the quarterback, but you definitely noticed in the games where Tomlinson was out that he didn't really make much of an impact in the pass from a pass rushing perspective.
Yeah, so he's not like he doesn't have like that star quality, I guess. I don't know. He's like a above average defensive tackle, like a little bit above average. I was hoping we'd get him because I know he played pretty well for the Bills, and I think he still kind of has a bunch of potential. I don't think we really saw him meet that full potential in this. At least from my perspective, it didn't seem like he was like when you said when Dalvin Tomlinson went out, our defense that hurt big time for that D line. So he wasn't able to like step in and kind of be that leader on the defensive line and yeah.
Grading wise, I think I'm stuck between like a B- and a B. I think. I mean, I thought again played well. Good locker room guy, good guy to have on the team. Like veteran, knows what he's doing out there. Good again, solid against the run, but just didn't see enough of him getting after the quarterback to give him anything higher than I would say probably around a B.
I'll probably give him a B-.
Okay.
Pretty much the same things. Obviously, I gave Tomlinson a B. I'll knock him off 1 from that. Maybe even a C+, B-. That's I
mean, he's just a good rotation, a good piece to have on your defensive line. Not gonna
He should be. He's definitely a solid starter.
Yes.
He's a solid starter. He's not the bully that you're talking about that we need.
For sure. Moving on to our next guy, you got Jonathan Bullard. Actually, he was kind of a pleasant surprise this season. In 12 games, 23 tackles, no sacks, 1 quarterback hit. You know, the numbers don't really speak for that. The 55 or 56.5 overall grade, 62.9 against the run, and then 50.2 pass rushing grade. You know, just I think he is a solid example of a really good rotational piece along your defensive line. Not going to give you, I don't think he's going to be like a super high end starter or maybe not even a starter at all, but definitely a good rotational piece and a good guy to have on your team when you need him.
Yeah. Yeah. You pretty much said it all there. You know, I wish we would have just kept Armand Watts around. He was a solid piece. He was probably the most consistent guy outside of Harrison Phillips and Dalvin Tomlinson, which is also the reason I have him as the third guy in here. Even though, I mean, there's one more guy that I think played better than him, and when he had the opportunities, and we'll get into him, I think, next. But overall, solid season. I mean, you just were thrown into that spot because he was probably started the most games from that 5 tech. Right? I think.
I would something like that. I
don't know. We started so many people there who freaking knows.
And overall,
Thompson was hurt too. So
I mean, I think a C is fair. I mean, I hate to say forgettable, but you know, he's just a rotational piece and didn't, you know, no huge impacts made. But I mean, but he was a good, solid, like I said, solid rotational piece. Yeah, so I think a C plus.
I'd give him a C.
Yeah. Overall, solid season. Moving on to our next guy, Kairos Tonga. Now, this is a guy I didn't know anything about coming into the season, and he, like you said, he's one of those rotational pieces that made a pretty big impact. In 11 games, 27 tackles, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, 77.9 overall grade, 73.4 against the run, and 69.6 against the pass rush. Yeah, I think if you're looking at like high-end rotational pieces, I think he is a solid example of that. Like you said, you did notice when he was on the field, he made a lot of solid plays. Again, I think, you know, probably has a career as a rotational piece, but there's nothing wrong with that at all. And I think, when he played, I was, you know,
I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in a position where we just didn't see much. It was nice to see a young guy kind of step into this role.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was nice. Especially when players started going down and we needed to figure that out. He stepped in and was an obvious bright spot. You heard his name for good reasons when he was in there. So I think that's and obviously, I mean, he didn't get tons of playing time, 11 games, and not all of those games. He did get a couple starts, I think, or at least he played a majority of the game. And in those games, he showed up. So if I was going to give him a grade based on just kind of a small sample size where he did pretty well, I'd probably give him a B. Based on the sample size.
I think that's fair. And a big thing with him, looking it up now, he's only 26 years old. So he's got a lot of room to grow. Right. This is only his second season in the league. So
and we got him from the Bears, correct?
Yeah. So this from a second year guy, I mean, I think, like I said, right now he's a rotational piece, but you know, he could morph into that high end rotational piece or a low end starter. I guess we'll see as time goes on. But for now, you know, this is a solid season for a second year player.
Yeah.
For sure.
Agreed.
Moving on to the next guy, we have James Lynch. In 15 games, 21 tackles, no sacks or quarterback hits, 65 overall PFF grade, 73.3 against the run, 51.6 against the pass. James Lynch is a weird player because he's one of those guys that everybody wants to see more from him, and we just kind of never get like. And when I say more,
preseason, we saw some good things out of him from preseason, but
yeah.
I would expect he came out of college with like 13 sacks or something his final year. I forgot where we got him from. I don't know. I don't remember right away. But so I was surprised to see that he had no sacks this year or quarterback hits. But
I mean, again, and that's the problem with a lot of this list. We're saying rotational player, rotational piece. Like no, like other than Dalvin Tomlinson and Harrison Phillips, there's no like this guy's
all of them are rotational pieces.
Right. And a lot of them have opportunity to grow, but James Lynch, like he's one of those guys everyone wants to see more of. And it's just, we haven't, I mean, whether it's coaches not playing him or what have you, but we just haven't seen enough from him yet.
Yeah.
But we know the potential is there. Like you said, in the preseason, we see it all the time, but it's like, we just need to see it come to fruition, during the regular season. So, I mean, if you're going to grade him, I mean, a C, I think is fair.
I think I give him a C as well. I mean, he didn't get a lot of playing time or anything. We gave Bullard a C. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll just still give him a C. Because
Yeah.
he did make some like somewhat big tackles. Like there's a couple times you still heard his name come in making plays. So
yeah. Overall, just, and that's, like I said, bad thing about this is a lot of just rotational pieces. So we'll see.
that's the thing. That's a problem with our defensive line. That's like something
Right.
that needs to be fixed.
Mhm.
That 5 technique, like I said, like that was a position that we just did not have filled. And if you only have 3 people on your defensive line, I feel like they got to be pretty good. You think? You think the
Yeah.
5 technique? Obviously, you can bring like guys like Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith to the line of scrimmage too, which we did do.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
You should have, if you can get 3 studs on that
Mhm.
line, that will definitely help the other guys. So
Sure. This one hurts. Ross Blacklock, obviously,
yeah,
after the Armand Watt
trade.
trade.
Yeah.
I believe we traded for Houston to get him. In 11 games, he only had 1 tackle. Is that legit?
PFF had him with 1 tackle, I think.
And it was a sack.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, 1 tackle and a sack, but Football Reference or whatever, they had him with like 2 tackles.
Okay.
I'm just like, whatever, I'll just go with the 1.
46 PFF grade, 44 against run, 51 against at pass rush. Yeah.
He didn't really come in and be that guy that
No,
people were
I mean, he
hoping
got
for.
hurt too, which didn't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, C minus, D, just to be nice. I
I'll
mean,
give him a I'll give him a D
there's
plus.
just not a lot. There's just not a lot to say here. Not enough stats to really make me feel like confident next year. I mean, I don't even know if he's actually on the team next year right now, or if he's
Yeah.
free agent
We
or
have
what
a
have you. But
auto of him though, so
yeah, hey, maybe he'll turn it
who
around.
wants that in giveaway?
Hey, yeah. Moving on to our next guy. Now, this guy is someone that I am actually excited about his future.
Yeah.
Skayuma, roll the boat, go Gophers. Minnesota Golden Gopher Asezi Adamawo in 5 games, 5 tackles, no sacks for quarterback hits, 62.6 PFF grade, 53.8 run defense, 62.3 against the pass, which is the thing that I like to see. The thing you really saw from Asezi is kind of what we saw in Brian Asamoah. He just has fiery competitor.
Right.
He flies
Right.
around the field. I mean, obviously, for a young guy, gets with limited opportunities, gets after it in the pass game. I mean, 42.3 pass rush grade from PFF is, to me, for a first year guy, that feels pretty solid. Yeah, I just love the energy you see from him, and I think this guy has a chance to be a solid rotational piece with Kairos Tonga
Right.
along the interior of this defensive line.
Yeah, obviously extremely small sample size from him, but when he at the end of the season when we were able to see a little bit more of him, you could just tell that he had that motor and that energy that you were talking about. You and other guys who we do podcasts and stuff with, we're bringing up his name a lot. So I think it shows that that he has some potential. We didn't get to see a lot of them. You can tell by the stats and stuff, but we had to put him in here just because we did kind of like what we saw, specifically what he could turn into.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. As far as
Because
grades go for him, I'll give based on small sample size. I try to grade based off of like face value. Like if you're a rookie and you just because you did well for a rookie, I'm gonna give you the same grade as the vets. But if you have a small sample size and I like what I saw in that sample size, I'll base the grade off that sample size. And for him, I'll do a C plus.
I was
Not a
thinking,
lot of playing time,
yeah,
but
I was very close. I was going to go B minus just
yeah,
because I mean, it's potential, a lot of potential there.
yeah,
And as we notice as a group, when you look at that, like there's just the cupboard's pretty bare. I haven't looked into, probably should have. I didn't look into who's here, who's under contract next season, who's not. Obviously, like I said, I'd love to bring back Dalvin Tomlinson. Hopefully, Kyrie's Tonga is probably still on his rookie deal. Bullard's probably still going to be around.
Phillips
Harrison
should be
Phillips is under
around.
contract as well.
Yeah.
So you have a start, but I just think we need to add a little bit more talent, which is why overall I got to give the defensive interior a C plus overall grade.
Overall,
There wasn't
I
enough
think,
from a run from like a run defense perspective. When Harrison Phillips was in there, it was good.
yeah.
Pass rush, we just never got anything going.
Other than Dalvin Thompson, that's why I got to give it a C. I felt like it was it could be arguably the weakest link on our entire defense. I know a lot of people might say cornerbacks. Other than Ed Donatel. Ed Donatel
cornerback and defensive interior, I felt were kind of like
yeah,
this.
exactly. And it all starts with the defensive interior, and our defensive interior was just not very strong.
Right.
You know, we
No
could not
pressure
get to the
does not help in a shell
there.
defense.
Yeah. So I do think it all kind of starts there, and we just did not get a chance to see that. So
yeah,
I think a C is being somewhat generous.
Yeah, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Those are our thoughts on the defensive interior line for the Minnesota Vikings. We want to know your thoughts. Let us know down in the comments what you thought. Give us your grades, and we'll do all that type of stuff. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.